Well, cheer, y'all. Welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, we're going to Kentucky Downs this weekend for our late pick five sequence. As you know, it's a unique track, and some horses love it, some horses don't, and that creates some great betting opportunities and a hell of a handicapping challenge. Uh, I think the first race is no exception to the rule. It's the Gun Runner. It's ungraded at $2 million purse. This is races 8 through 12, incidentally, for the late Big Five. It's a mile on the turf for the 3-year-olds. And honestly, I had a lot of trouble with this race. I didn't find a lot of horses to be terribly interested in. I saw a lot of them are either coming off of a big race or really haven't put it together yet. And this is one of those races where Kentucky Downs can make a hero out of somebody who hasn't been before. Of the configuration, you can see is pretty straightforward. Got a little bit of everything in here. I didn't like any of the setters to take this field all the way. I think Rolando will probably be the quickest, but the three of them haven't displayed an ability to finish, which is more the issue to me than anything else. And when you have a long stretch like you do with Kentucky Downs, that's a real big liability. So I didn't like any of them. Nemeron coming from Germany for John Sadler, probably has some experience with this type of surface. And, it's hard to know what we've got with him. But again, this field, it's hard to know what we've got with a lot of these. To me, Nameron, it represents as good a selection as any, and is likely to run pretty well for John Sadler, first time off the bench. Tab looks pretty good, so I'll go with Nameron. Uh, Capitol Hill is one that for Bill Mott, big days, Bill Mott. But I think this is kind of I think we're a race away with Capitol Hill, in my opinion. Two back, this horse ran a big race, and I think that the one following up was a bit of a denouement. And as we know, Bill Mott likes to point horses to races. And I just have a feeling there's one more down the line that he's looking at. And I'm not sure he's going to be tuned up all the way. But Capitol Hill is certainly a nice horse, and he merits consideration here. I settled on Tiz Dashing because he's been the bridesmaid a little bit in some good quality races, and I think he's a horse who's getting better and is ready for a big one. And my good friend Matthew DeSantis loves this horse, so I know he will be happy that I am selecting him. I think you're going to get a price, and again, I think it's the kind of race where I don't see anybody who really towers over the field, anybody who's in really outstanding form or whatnot. So I'll look for the horse who has the most likely chance to move forward, and I'll say that's Tiz Dashing. New Century is a horse that you can't like. He just doesn't win. That's really the issue with New Century more than anything else. Uh, to be honest, I didn't like him. I thought he was overrated at 2, and I think he's overrated at 3. Will Kentucky Downs, this configuration, uh, bring it out of him or finally get him over the top? Maybe. I'm putting him in more for underneath as a horse to consider because he is consistent. We can say that. He's not consistently good, but he is consistent. And so we'll throw him in. Just to mention a couple. Giacoso, I got off of this horse too late. I was all over him at 2 and at 3, and he, just disappointed. And then what does he do? He comes out and they cut him back into a sprint and he wins. Well, I just have a feeling there's a little denouement here stretching him back out again, and that's why I'm not going to use him. And we talked about the front runners, and it's one of these races that it's just really hard to find a handle on it. So I'm just thinking that the most logical option here is a price or a newcomer to the States. And so Nameron and Tiz Dashing in the Gun Runner. Second leg of the late pick 5 is the Music City. It's a grade 2, ninth race on the card, run at 6.5 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-old fillies. And You have the same type of scenario that you do with the Franklin Simpson. They're both run at 6.5 furlongs on the turf, and that's really important at a track like Kentucky Downs. And um, you really want to be aware of it. That it's very similar to the downhill chute at Santa Anita. And if you recall, most of those races are run at 6.5 furlongs as well. And horses who do well there tend to be ones who are pretty good at a mile. Horses who are just pure sprinters don't do quite as well. And so you may have that type of situation here. You'll note in the Music City as well as the Franklin Simpson, you've got a lot of horses cutting back from routes. And I think that's the reason why. You take a look here, and She's So Spicy would be very logical ordinarily. If this was flat turf, I would like She's So Spicy in this race. Has not gone 6.5 furlongs yet, and let's remember, it plays more. It's going to play longer than 6.5 due to the configuration of the track. So to me, She's So Spicy would be a bit of an underlay here as a front runner, trying to take him all the way at a distance she hasn't run at yet. So I'm just going to throw out. I don't blame you if you want to use, but I just don't think she's going to take to the longer distance, and I think it's prohibitive to use her, so I'm not going to. Classic Q is cutting back from route to sprint, and I think it's logical to understand why. Again, due to the configuration, this is a horse who has been effective on the lead, but sometimes is a little wanting late. Well, what's better than cutting back to 6.5 furlongs? So I think Classic Q makes a lot of sense here. Jungle Peace, I couldn't quite get to, but I think is another one going route to sprint for Phil D'Amato, who I think may take to this distance as well. I would think about more for underneath in your exotic plays, but one to think about. Tabiti looks pretty obvious to me. Rafe Beckett is a great trainer in Europe, and I don't think he'd bring a horse over here unless he had serious intentions. Clearly, coming from Europe is going to be well attuned to races with undulation. And you get Frankie Dettori, who's just killing it. He's at 32% at Kentucky Downs right now. He's going to know how to handle a horse like this, and I'd really like Tabiti in this spot, and this is my pick to win. It Ain't Two from Riley Mott. He's a chip off the old block. He got his first grade one with World Beater at Saratoga. And he's doing well with his stock is getting better, and he knows how to handle young horses. He's doing very well. I think It Ain't Two would be one that I would want to think about in here, who's making that type of progression, and provided she takes to the track, should be one to think about. More so for underneath, I would say, but again, Kentucky Downs brings the best out of a lot of horses, so don't be surprised if It Ain't Two maybe takes a major step forward. Kilwin is my very close second to Tabiti in this race. This is a horse who just won the test on dirt and killed my pick 5, which I don't know that I've gotten over yet when Ray caught ragtime. But this horse won the test. This horse has been good on turf. This is a really, really nice horse. And he would be, I think, if it's not Tabiti, it's Kilwin, let's just say. I mean, I just really like this horse, and I just think he's of high quality. She is, rather. And I think he's very logical in this spot. So we're going to go with Tabiti, the foreigner, coming in, but Kilwin, a very close second in the Music City. The third leg of the late pick 5 is the male counterpart to the Music City. It's the Franklin Simpson. It's a grade 1, 10th race on the card, run at that same 6.5 furlong distance on the turf for 3-year-olds. And again, we want to be thinking about horses, I believe, who are more attuned to longer distances and who are cutting back. And if you look at this field, you've got a lot of horses moving back from 2 turns. Mibago, Golden Afternoon, Dream On, Innovator, and so it lends itself to, you have to be thinking that there's a reason a lot of them want to get on this surface, and I think that's the reason. It just plays more to like milers than it does sprinters. Mibago, to me, is very obvious in here. I've liked this horse. He just has been a little short at longer distances, but he's got one gear, he's got one way to go. It's all out from the get go, and this is a perfect turn back. If provided he can get the lead, he is awfully dangerous to take them all the way here. I don't. I was close to putting him on top, except I believe Dream On and a couple of the others are maybe going to make it Governor Sam a little difficult for him to have it in the stretch, and it is a really long stretch at Kentucky Downs. But he's awful dangerous, and I think he's one you certainly have to consider in this race. Golden Afternoon broke his maiden first time out at Kentucky Downs, which I'd have to say is a feather in the cap. Uh, they had this one on the Derby Trail for a little while, and it didn't really work out. But going back to turf, it looks to me, coming off the bench, that they've been pointing to this one. And I think Golden Afternoon may be a cut below the very best here, but I think maybe the track can pick them up. Kentucky Downs will do that for a lot of horses, and it'll bring some back. So I'm going to use Golden Afternoon in here as a sneaky one, and I think you're going to get a decent price. We talked about Dream On, and this is another one that moving back, this one's very versatile as one it sprints as well as roots, and I think cutting back could be what the doctor ordered. So Dream On certainly one to consider. I'm just worried that maybe Mibago rings him out a little bit on the front end. That's my one concern, and that's. I think he's one to consider. Out on bail is very logical, has good back class, and I think is one that you can fit in the mix here effectively. I just want to make a note about Governor Sam. Probably going to be the favorite, and this is a hell of a good turf sprinter. But note something, a couple things. This horse has never gone past 5.5 furlongs, and there have been instances where it has been caught at 5.5. Now you're going out to 6.5, and at a track where it's probably more conducive to milers than it is to sprinters. So rather than toy with the idea that Governor Sam can do something he hasn't done, I'm just going to throw him out. He's going to be a short price. I'll get a better price on a horse I think can get the distance better. So Governor Sam, I'm just going to let go. I settled on Spiced Up. Bill Mott, big stakes day. Those are the two positives. But the third that puts Spiced Up to me over the top is, number one, it is very difficult to wire a field at Kentucky Downs. It can be done. We saw it happen a couple of times last year. But I think coming off from the pace is a better bet. Plus, what I like about Spiced Up is, whereas we probably have a pretty good idea of who Mibago is and who Dream On is, we're not, Spiced Up is still heading upwards in the right direction. Has that great progression that you always see from Bill Mott horses. And I think this one's ready to run a big one. And so I'm going to take Spiced Up here in the Franklin Simpson. But I do think we have to consider Mibago and Golden Afternoon with an outside shot at a price. The fourth leg of the Late Pick 5 is the featured race, the Kentucky Turf Cup. It's a Grade 2, 11th race on the card, run at 1.5 miles on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. And you take a look at this field, and it's a pretty standard configuration with Corruption out at would think would be the speed. But there's a lot of things to like about Corruption. I just wonder about him taking him all the way in this race. I just couldn't get that warm feeling about him to do it. And for that reason, I'm going to let him go. I just kind of think that maybe he ran his best race last time. I'm not sure. But it's just not one I like. Mercanti, to me, is one who's coming into this race in the best form. And that really is it for me more than anything else. Proven at the distance, and I think he can handle Kentucky Downs. And so I'm going to go with Mercanti. Old Crazy Bone might surprise a little bit, and we're going to talk about some of the other horses that maybe you think warrant consideration that I'm not going to use, but we'll get to that. But Old Crazy Bone to me fits a pattern. Mike Maker, we know, is just great at claiming horses and then stretching them out to longer. And Old Crazy Bone is no exception to that. This one has been in very good form, and I'm just going to go by the horse who I think is ready to run another good race. And so, Old Crazy Bone, you're going to get a price, and so I'm going to throw in the mix. Grand Sonata is a horse who has experience over Kentucky Downs and won here last year, albeit with a ground saving rail trip. Got lucky, the rail opened up and was able to scoot through. But Grand Sonata's been in pretty good form. I've never been the biggest fan of this horse. I always want, it seems to me, Grand Sonata is always the what might have been horse. It just always kind of lets you down, but has been in good form lately. He's had a couple of seconds at the UN and the Sword Dancer, and he likes the track. So Grand Sonata, very logical use here. Utah Beach looks to be in pretty good form as well of the closers, and that enough is enough for me. He seems to be headed in the right direction, so we'll throw Utah Beach on there. Now, just to talk about a couple of the others, really it's more an issue of they've peaked and now they're on their way down again. You know, like how long can they hold it? Like Fort Washington, for instance. I didn't think that was a great Arlington Million, to be honest. And I've never been the biggest fan of this horse, but he's been doing well this year. But here's my thing: he still has some maturity issues. You see those running line notes of left lead at times, and now you're getting in a very punishing and demanding track like Kentucky Downs, and I just have to believe that that's going to have some bearing on a horse who isn't maybe as rock solid as we'd like to think. Shug's not having a very good meet. He didn't have a very good Saratoga. God bless Shug. We love him. But I'm going to let Fort Washington go. He's probably going to be at a short price, and I think I can do better with some others. Anglophile, I just don't think is good enough. I never have, and for that reason, I'm tossing. Vote no. I really want to put in the mix here for my good friend Kyle Roscoe. I like this horse. I really liked him in the Sword Dancer. I don't know what Kendrick Carmouche was doing with this horse on the lead. I have no idea. I was absolutely stunned, puzzled, stymied, perplexed, you name it. I couldn't believe it. And obviously that's why they made the rider change. I have a feeling the Vote No was ready for a peak effort in the Sword Dancer. So that's the only reason. I think maybe this is a denouement, down on the way down. So that's the only reason I'm letting Vote No go. But sentimentally, I do hope he does well. Tawny Port is coming, if he runs, and we stress if he runs, because he just ran last week. I think is one you maybe want to think about. He just ran at Kentucky Downs for 2.25 miles last Saturday and got second, and last year he got third. In between those two races, not very much. So obviously he likes Kentucky Downs, and that's why they put him in this race. It's a tall order, I think, at 1.5 miles on a week's rest, but we'll see. If they throw him in here, I'd probably put him in the mix for underneath. I don't know that he can win. He doesn't like to, so I would pass. El Razine is he's one I'm starting to think that I think we've seen the best he's got, and I'm not sure it's good enough. That's really what it comes down to. He's a solid horse. He's been running very well. I mean, last time, God, he went 7 wide and had a very big effort. I just don't. It's really just my feel more than anything else that I think we've seen the best of him. That's really all it is. If you want to throw him in your mix, I don't blame you, but I can't do it. So we're going to go with Mercanti. I think is just ready to roll here of the ones in this group. And I do think you've got quite a bit of vulnerability from some of the shorter prices in here. So we'll go with Mercanti in the Kentucky Turf Cup. Last leg of the late pick 5 is, of course, it's not Kentucky Downs isn't immune to some of the tactics of Churchill or Belmont or Aqueduct or whatnot. They put a maiden special weight as the final race of the late pick five. It's 170,000, 12th race on the card, running a mile on the turf for the 2-year-olds. And honestly, this is, you take a mystery wrapped in a riddle and add an enigma on top of it. A maiden race where most of these haven't run anywhere else before, and we just have no idea whether they're going to like Kentucky Downs or not, or if they can run at all. So your guess is as good as mine. This is an absolute spread race. However, of looking at the group, Spun Legacy to me is one that that's certainly heading in the right direction. And by all accounts, this should be ready to run a solid race. She's on a roll. Has been running against the boys and for Wesley Ward, and just has extremely good back class running against Ewing and Obliteration. Switching to turf shouldn't be a problem, nor stretching out. And I think just makes a whole lot of sense here. It's going to be a short price, but I think she is on a roll as one you have to think about. Banker's Jet from Mark Cassie is another one that looks to be in good, everything looks right. It's not often you see a mare that has 13 starters and 12 winners, 4 turf winners. That's an old mare. She's been around quite some time. But I think Banker's Jet looks like a good fit here and one to think about. Prodigious is another one that, just looking at them, it seems to fit the bill. And from Miguel Clement, second start. If he's anything like his father, rest in peace. Christophe Clement was great with second-time starters. And so we'll just have to hope that Prodigious can pick it up a little bit. And, I'll trust the connections here. That this one is going to improve markedly in the second start. Exonerate for Brad Cox just looks like a horse that Flavian Pratt can't be an accident. Obviously, they think something of this horse, and we'll see if Kentucky Downs gets this one going. Obviously, the last 2 starts have not been great, but let's see how this horse can do on turf. And I think there's you have to read the tea leaves here and think that Exonerate's ready to run a big one. So we're going to go with She's on a Roll as the most logical here, but this is definitely a race that we would want to spread. So let's take a look at our ticket. Okay, so here is our late pick 5 ticket for races 8 through 12. And leg 1, race 8, we're going to keep it simple. 1 and 13, we hope Tiz Dashing at a price can get us off on the right foot. Leg 2, race 9, we're going to use 5 and 9. Leg 3, race 10, we're going to use 1, 8, and 9. Race 11, 5, 7, and 8. And then finally the maiden, like I said, I think it's a real crapshoot. We're going to spread. I think She's on a Roll, looks really good, but being Kentucky Downs and being maidens, I think we can't take the chance. So we're going to go 5 deep, 3, 4, 8, 9, and 11. So that's 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. That's a $90 ticket on a 50-cent base. But I do think this is worth the extra added investment. Most of you know I like to keep my tickets small. But I think we've got definitely have some prices at Kentucky Downs, without a doubt, in this sequence. So we're going to go for it. Hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy, and I wish you the best of luck as always. And certainly, if you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And thanks to all of you who continue to grow our community. We'll continue on through the thoroughbred racing season. We've got the Philadelphia or the Pennsylvania Derby coming up, and I intend to be there at Parks in a couple of weeks. We've also got Keeneland on the horizon, and there's a lot of good stuff coming, and we'll be on top of it, all of it for you, all the way through to the Breeders' Cup. So that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.